Hi, you're on the Alice Reddit Stories channel. Subscribe to my channel as well as to my Facebook, the link is in the description. Enjoy watching. Story 1. AITA for pointing out that my sister is morbidly obese during an argument. AITA for pointing out that my sister is morbidly obese during an argument April 5, 2020. I was born into a very unhealthy family. My siblings and I were all overweight by our teens. My siblings are now either obese or morbidly obese. As a teen, I lose weight and be mocked. I'd walk laps around our living room because I was too ashamed to walk out in public, ate a restricted diet that I thought was healthy at the time. When I lost a noticeable amount of weight but was still overweight, parents threatened to force feed me, would make cow noises at me, made comments on my appearance, etc. I've spent the past several years trying to develop healthier habits, educated myself about nutrition, tried to eat a balanced diet and live a more active lifestyle. My parents and siblings gossip about how I have an eating disorder to people outside the family. My parents asked that I bring my 2 kids and stay with them to help out during isolation. My eldest sister and her 5 kids live with them. When I first came over, I started cooking for the whole household, but they wanted what they're used to eating. So now I'm cooking for my kids and making whatever my parents want to eat. My sister has been making snide remarks about how I'm trying to force them to be health freaks while I'm staying here. I do the shopping for the household, and even just bringing home vegetables or fruit, apart from apples, is enough to get comments or rolled eyes. I've been out walking, permitted so long as we socially distance and don't congregate. If I don't manage to get out in the morning, then I know there are more people out walking and don't want to risk it, so I walk laps around the backyard instead. I track my steps and try to hit 10,000 a day. I don't work out to avoid criticism. Walking around the yard upset my sister. She thought it was her responsibility to call out my eating disorder. I'll be making my kids sick by walking laps around the yard and screw them up like me. My parents agreed that I was being stupid. No one goes to such extremes in isolation. I asked them what else I should do with my free time then, and they said to watch something on TV like a normal person. I told them that it was my choice. My sister started yelling at me about how it was their house, should listen to them, and that I'm sick in the head. I got angry and told her I was finally healthy for the first time in my life, and being in the house with her would probably make me sick. Then she said, "You think you're smart because you're skinny, but you're still fucking stupid." So I said, if I want health advice, I won't take it from someone who is morbidly obese. I know how much comments about weight can sting, so I do feel guilty about it. At the same time, I don't feel like her putting my weight or habits under a microscope was fair either. AITA here? Verdict, NTA. Update in comments April 6, 2020. Update. I don't know if editing my post is a good idea, as there's character limit for posts on this sub. According to the rules, I should wait a few weeks for a follow-up, but I'm hoping to shove this whole incident out of sight and mind forever. Thank you to everyone for responding. I hoped I'd have a few opinions to help me decide if I was in the wrong, and instead I got a few hundred, which is a lot to reply to individually. I packed our bags and was preparing to leave yesterday. My dad saw me and asked if I was really going, and when I said yes, he told me that I shouldn't abandon them because I don't know how to deal with my sister. I told him that if he is going to let her harass me, then he isn't helping me to stay. He told me to stop being dramatic, so I told him that I will apologize to her and stay if she apologizes to me first. He laughed at me and said it wasn't going to happen. She doesn't apologize for how she deals with them either. My mom got upset, crying, when I was loading the car up, and told me to stop being upset over small, stupid things. We're family, shit happens. It's not fair to make my sister responsible for all of them in this time of crisis. If anything happens to any of them or my sister's kids, it'll be because I left. I started crying and she told me to just come inside and not do this to the kids. I'd take them away from their cousins. I told her my kids aren't staying somewhere, that I'll be disrespected and body shamed. She told me I was being ridiculous and was bored and looking for an excuse to leave. The kids and I are back home now. I don't feel relieved yet, just a little guilty. The amount of posts, especially the ones telling me I'm TA and I suck if I stay, have reassured me that leaving is the best thing for everyone. The posts from people who themselves are overweight or obese were also helpful. I appreciate your perspectives and taking the time to share your stories. I don't believe I would have focused on her weight if she hadn't been so fixated on mine, and in the moment it felt like the only way to get her to back off was to point out how ridiculous it was that she was trying to help me when she herself is not focusing on her own health. It came out in a very pointedly hurtful way. She literally pulled her arm back to slap me and stopped herself and walked off crying and calling me a rude bitch. Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. I don't feel good about what I said. I don't feel good about how she was treating me either, or how it escalated this far, but I didn't feel like I could say anything to make her stop until I did. To answer a few questions, why did I come to stay with them? I live over an hour away and didn't want to be driving back and forth with my kids. My parents asked for my help. They and my sister are very anxious about the virus. I assumed that because I don't see them often and they reached out, they must have been desperate. My kids also liked the idea of spending time with their cousins, and my partner is working ATM. When I came to stay 3 weeks ago, grocery delivery services were being cancelled and our orders weren't being delivered fully. Shelves were pretty bare, but I'd shop at 3 different stores in the same complex to bring food home. This is easing up now, so I don't feel so bad. Even though they're bullies? I, stupidly, assumed that because they asked for my help, they would be a bit grateful. They're not. They won't ever be. That much is obvious now. They don't care about how my sister's words have hurt me, and I should know better by now. They taught her to be this way, and now that they're not picking on me to the extent that they used to, they're enabling her to do it. And now I realize that I was too by staying. Do I have an eating disorder, and is my sister actually overweight? I honestly don't believe I currently have an eating disorder, though I do believe I did have one in my teens. I don't track calories, and I don't weigh myself regularly. According to my last weight, my BMI was 22. My sister is morbidly obese and is on the wait list for a knee replacement. I would hesitate to label her weight if there was no medical history there to back it up. I have 2 other siblings, and they are either obese or morbidly obese by sight, but I've never asked them. Why am I letting them insult/bully me? I was brushing it off most of the time from lack of a better coping mechanism. Retaliating or leaving didn't feel like good options at the time. I know that leaving will now paint me as the bad guy to friends and the rest of the extended family because I came to help and then gave up after insulting my sister. I'm not going to enjoy explaining this to people and losing respect for a lot of them in the process. TLDR, kids, and I went home and I didn't apologize. Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. Story 1. I, 21M, slept with this girl, 21F, in the quite literal sense, 3 times, and now she won't talk to me. I had been talking to this girl for about a month. I've known her for a couple of years as she is the best friend of my flatmate's girlfriend, but only recently, I have been talking with her in a relationship-ish way. We first started talking after a night out, when I ended up taking her home after she got really drunk and upset. After she calmed down and sobered up, we got into bed and just slept. As the night went on, we got closer and closer until we're essentially spooning, but I didn't do anything more than that, I think correctly, as I didn't think it was right to, and it almost certainly would have been rejected also. I message her the next day asking if she's okay, because in truth, she basically had a mental breakdown in my arms. This leads to a 2-week period of talking online almost constantly. I never arrange a date or anything because she never really gave me any signals that she wanted me to. But she always replies within the hour with very keen replies. At one point, she sent me the longest message you will ever see. Not even my mom or dad have sent me a message as long as this. It's at this point where I'm fairly convinced she likes me, but probably because of insecurity, I continue to not fully believe this. Anyway, second time. It's Halloween night out and she comes outside to the smoking area of this club that I am at and basically immediately says she wants to go home. I eventually end up walking her home from this club again. She's pretty smashed and ends up passing out in the bed straight away, so obviously again I don't do anything. She wakes up about half an hour later and then we just proceed to talk and spoon again, like what happened on the other night I was in her bed. Fast forward to the morning and I leave without doing anything because I have work quite shortly. Well, not as shortly as I claimed, because I needed an excuse to get away from a situation where I might have to actually grow some balls. Third and final time. I was actually working at this event outside the back of the bar where she was at. I actually got to clock out early at like 2 a.m. because we were overstaffed, and she messages me where I am because presumably she'd come looking for me at the bar that I had left. I told her I got to clock out early and she doesn't respond, so I assumed that would be it for the night and I'd talk to her tomorrow. I just started trying to go to sleep where I get a knock on my door. I open it thinking it was just one of my flatmates, but it wasn't. It was obviously the girl and her flatmate, with her boyfriend. The flatmate and his girlfriend go to bed, so it's just us two. I assume she'd be quite drunk after a night out, but she just wasn't. She complains a bit about wanting to go home, so I eventually do. Once again, neither of us makes any move, so, as I was really tired after a night shift too, Jay just go to bed, spooning her once again. The difference between the second time and third time is that neither of us have work and we spend about an hour just talking to each other. Here comes the change in attitude. After an hour, she just tells me to leave in quite a rude way that suggests I've done something wrong. Later on, I message her asking for my hoodie back that I had left there as I happened to be heading towards hers at the time. She takes ages to reply and just says that my flatmate will get it back to me at some point. I'm still talking to her, but I am now officially on unread for 2 days now. I'm just so confused, tbh. Do girls spoon ever with guys they don't like romantically, or am I just an idiot? Don't forget to support my channel by subscribing, thank you. Because for everything except from the spooning, she just talked to me in the way my male friends would. The change in her attitude towards me since the third time is so blatant that I feel I have definitely done something wrong. Also, I think it's probably important to mention that one of my other flatmates had a fling with her like a year back, and I'm not sure I could handle that for some reason. TLDR, I spooned with a girl 3 times without making a proper move, and after the third occasion, she will not talk to me. Someone who lacks much previous female attention, am becoming obsessed with her now. She's ignored me, and it is making me miserable. Story 2. My boyfriend wants me to remove men from my social media, but I am not willing to do so, as it will create the gateway for future requests like this. My boyfriend, 25M, and I, 23F, have been together for almost a year. My boyfriend had a stroke of bad luck with his past relationships, with his exes cheating and lying to him, so he has significant trust issues. I have been the most loyal girlfriend, and I love him very dearly, and I would never do anything to hurt his feelings. We have been having this particular fight for the past few months and cannot seem to resolve it. This fight involves the removal of 2 guys. First guy. There is an acquaintance on my social media who mentioned to my friend how pretty I was, and my friend, knowing my type, immediately shut him down. He never approached me and always maintained a distance. This was 3 years before I met my boyfriend. He is now only on my social media and we never interact. The second guy is a friend of mine since my middle school days, and several months ago he confessed that he liked me for a week or so when we were in high school. He immediately assured me that it was a passing phase, that it happened a long time ago, and that I would always be his bro. He only told me this because he thought the thing was funny. I let it go since it was a long time ago and only for a week. This confession also happened before I met my boyfriend. My boyfriend has always been on the edge about these 2 guys, and it bothers him greatly. I reassured him in every possible way by showing the texts and everything, but he demanded that I remove them from my social media. I am not comfortable doing so, as I do not agree with his logic and I feel he is being possessive and controlling, and granting a request like this will create leeway for further requests in our future. I have nothing going on with these guys, and they don't with me. But I feel it's a matter of principle, as I will be doing it against my wishes, and I do not believe removing certain people will in any way strengthen trust in our relationship. He's very hurt that I cannot entertain this request of his, and very hurt and bothered altogether. I want to help him through this and work through this issue but cannot find a way around it. He's not listening to any reason and sees blocking them as the only way to resolve it and put it behind us. But I'm not willing to do so, as I feel the issue is deeper than this and removing them from my social media would not resolve the root of this issue. He keeps telling me that this is how people end up cheating, but I am an incredibly loyal person, both to him and to everyone else around me. I explained similar situations that happened with my parents and how my dad jokes about the men who liked my mom and how blessed he is that she chose him, but he still won't listen to any reason. I love him dearly and he loves me too, and I want to make this work and stop hurting but cannot think of a way without violating my own principles and ethics. Please suggest me ways to resolve this. A few points to note. I had a fling around the same time I met him. I decided to end it a few days before I met my boyfriend. I still had him in my socials, but my boyfriend asked me to block the fling. I understood his point of view here, as anyone would be uncomfortable being in contact with someone they had been with romantically. So I blocked him. The issue here is that he brought this up a few times, saying if I could block my fling, why not these two guys? He and his ex did not let each other keep members of the opposite sex on their social media. He admitted it was highly toxic. Since it was a long time ago and he was really young, people really don't understand relationships at that age. I gave him the benefit of doubt because I believe people could change and grow up and rectify their toxic behavior from their teenage. I'm afraid this pattern will also establish in our relationship. In the first few months of your relationship, we went through a lot of arguments regarding his trust issues. He turned every single argument into me somehow cheating or lying to him. I forced him to confront his behavior and soon he realized his mistakes and changed for the better. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. There are many interesting articles ahead.